Hey folks, good evening. Welcome to another Money Space with me, Kalu Aja. Of course, on our space every Sunday, 7 p.m. West African time, we're talking the economy, we're talking money, we're talking personal finance. And I'm your host as usual. This week, we are going to do a review Q2 2026 Nigerian investment overview. Oh, there's error there. Yeah. So we just review the markets for Nigeria, essentially. What happened in Nigeria, equities, bonds, look at the whole asset class structure in the country, and see if we can spot a few nuggets here and there, and also perhaps give us an insight into what we should do in Q3 that we have got in. Just before we had the space last week, we got the news Nigeria was one of the, or is the best performing stock market in the entire world in dollar terms. We're going to talk about that on this space and see what we can learn from that, right? So we're going to kick it off real quick. Again, if you want to follow, we are on the YouTube, and we also try to share the slides here as well on Twitter so that we have a visual as we're walking you through the data. So if you want to get on YouTube, we did share the link just before the space started. Great visuals you can follow, because we're going to talk numbers. I want you guys to sort of get your notebooks out and just sort of follow, right? And then that way you can become a better informed, as it were, to take advantage of what's going on. So Q2 2026 Nigerian investment outflow. Yeah, and again, if you want to request to speak, I actually just talk for about 15 minutes, and then we'll let you guys hop in, and then you guys can basically have your own say. Let's kick it off. I'm not sure. Twitter is just slowing down here. I'm just going to maybe get a new fresh page here on Twitter. For YouTube, guys, all have it also on tap. Let's kick it off. Let's go. So I'm just going to post the header, Nigerian investment overview. And so if you're on Twitter, you can just follow. It's going to be just the chain of tweets I'm going to be sharing, so that way we have the visuals. There we go. So we'll share the title, and I'm just going to share the other tweets like a trend under this, so you follow. Fantastic. So let's start off with just an overview of what happened in the market, right? Let's do the overview of where the market is, the Nigerian Stock Exchange especially, because that's when most of the excitement and most of the money is flowing to, especially on the retail basis. The bulk of the funds that we see in Nigeria flow to the money market. The money markets are almost 3 times the size of the stock market. That's where the bulk of the funds in Nigeria go to, the money market. But the stock markets are basically that retail play. Most of the excitement happens in the stock market. It's a very, very sexy market. You're here in Nigeria is probably one of the best in the world. It's all in the stock market, not in our bond market. So folks always want to know what's happening to the stock market. And always the stock market are like a barometer, obviously, on the economy. If folks feel confident in the market, they tend to invest and buy stocks in Nigeria. One key is that the bulk of the purchases in Nigeria are being done by the local investors. The local investors are doing more investments in the Nigerian stock market than the foreign investors. That's a key thing to note. And that will make sense when we now talk about the returns and to explain this dollar naira returns in the stock market. But if we look at Nigerian stock market, I think we're doing very, very tidy. Year to date is about 47% performance year to date. Market cap has gone up. Remember, in June, we had a huge correction in June, right? Many things happened in June. The market sort of corrected. So you are looking at the market after it has gone down, still posting a nearly 50% return year to date. This is very, very impressive in any market in the world. Dividend yield 4.8, you might argue it's not as high, but again, remember you are getting your capital appreciation. So if you had bought shares in January, those shares would have done about 47% today. You would get a 4.8 dividend yield if you are an income investor. It's not beating inflation, but you're getting something. But I think the key number there is that year-to-date performance of about 47% that you're getting if you invested in Nigeria. So strong performance in Nigerian stock market, even though we had that June correction, that prices came down, right? Many reasons why prices came down, lots of profit taking. Stock price has gone up, aggressively this year. So many investors sort of took profit off the table. We have this new law that's going to come. I'm not sure if it's out yet, where we're going to have to see more volume at the lower end before the prices can go up. That might have also have spooked investors and made them basically go quickly to sell and capture profits before the new quarter starts. So again, these numbers look very, very decent and they are okay for any investor. So let's try to now look at what those numbers say if we compare them to say where we are coming from for quarter two 2025, which is a year ago. So let's compare where we are with a year ago. And let's also compare where we are with just the last quarter that has gone past, right? So if you look at a year ago, quarter two 2025, at this same time, Nigeria was doing about 16%. Now we're doing about, if you look at the quarter, about, like I said, 47%. So clearly from 16 to 47, there's been great movement. If you compare year to year, i.e. 2025 Q2 with 2026 Q2, the market has definitely broadened and has gone up. Many reasons: bank recapitalization, more interest in the stock market because of Dangote Sugar, Dangote Refining. There's a lot of interest in the market. Also, this new frontier talk. When they put you in the frontier market, what that means is that automatically, if I am in, say, United States and I want to buy emerging markets, if I put $100, Nigeria will get a share of that $100 if I'm buying the ETF. So that inclusion will make stocks go up in price because there's more demand for those stocks. So that's one thing that's pushing that 47% return. Look at Q1 2026. Nigeria is also up. We're up 29% in Q1. Quarter two, we're up 47%. Quarter two last year, we're up 16%. So the trend line is up, and the trend is always your friend, right? You want to invest with the trend. So the trend line for Nigeria is up. We have not even done Dangote. Dangote Refinery has not come in. And again, Dangote Refinery, keep in mind, guys, it's going to be a plus and a minus. It's so big that when the Dangote Refinery comes into Nigerian market, it's going to pull down the index. Hear what I'm saying? You will make a profit, but Dangote will pull down the index just because of the size, because now you have a larger denominator. Not that the market's going to lose money, but it will grow slower because your denominator has gone bigger, and it's a huge gorilla Dangote Refinery that's going to come in. So again, this chart tells that the market is your friend, right? If you're invested in 2025 till now, you would have made money. So you've got to make sure you have an allocation to Nigeria. If you've been in this space, folks always ask, should I invest in Nigeria? And what's my answer to you? You invest when things are low, when things are bad, when things are underpriced. If you buy when things are good, where's the premium? Where's your margin of safety? I'm not asking you to go buy or sell, but I'm saying the guys that are going to make money are the guys that are investing when things are low, right? That's essentially it. Olumide, hi, how you doing? Okay, so let's move on, right? Let's move on and go and look at the returns. Which particular stocks, right, did well? We've seen the 47% number, but which stocks drove it? Now, this is why I wanted to go into the stocks was to just, if you look at the sectors, right, that made money, what do you see? I see a lot of oil, Owando, Seplat, Aradel. I see a lot of all those guys. I don't see a lot of banks. This is just top six. The slide could take seven, but just the top six. I think we'll see Zenith. If we look again, we'll see Zenith somewhere there. But if you just look at the top holdings, the guys that made a lot of money this year, you're looking at the look at. I don't want to use the word ignore, but that Zix Agro Allied is just an outlier. I had to put it there because it's just so much of an outlier. But I have questions about that stock. Even the SEC had questions about them. It's a very, very small company. They are posting astronomical returns. Look at their dividend yield is zero. Doesn't mean if a dividend yield is zero, it's bad. It just means this is a stock that is moving on price appreciation. It's a farm. But investors seem to like it, and the stock price has gone up 180%. It's stocks like this that is making the index go up. I would rather sort of reduce, if I could reduce the allocation that we are giving to a stock like this in terms of the return, because it's skewing the return positively. Aradel, Seplat, Owando, Dangote, Bua, these are all stalwarts of the exchange, and you can see what they are returning. I mean, Zix is doing 180%, and Seplat is doing 19%, Owando 22%, Dangote Cement 9%. 180 is an outlier, way out of the scene. Look at the year-to-date return. The average is, you look at that, average is about 25% on average. Again, Zix is just skewing the data because total return for that company is 1,001%. I have to put it here because that's the numbers I'm getting, but I would say don't rely. That's an outlier. That's an outlier company. But this is what the market is right now. It's energy, it's financial services that's really driving this economy. And this is why we are now posting these high returns. Again, remember what I said, the trend is your friend in Nigeria. 05, 06 quarter one, 06 quarter two, the market has done pretty well. So you want to see if you want to get a share of this emerging market. Could be a frontier market if all things go in. So again, I now try to look at the small caps. Why? Because again, if you watch this space, you'd have heard me explain that if you look at Nigeria, the growth, the price appreciation is coming from the small caps, or what I would call the non-NGX 30 stocks. So if you look at the NGX 30, those are your big boys, your Dangote, your Airtel, your MTN, your Aradel, those big boys, that's your NGX 30. The price appreciation is coming from the non-NGX stocks, right? But the stability, the capitalization is coming from the NGX 30 stocks. So we try to look at what those stocks were doing and basically try to find out why they are moving up, because that will give us an idea of why the whole market is moving up as a whole. Again, you can see, look at Zix, AgroAllied, 800% approximate return. Even though it dropped, and I put that column there, drop in June. So what you're looking at is these stocks after they have fallen. That shows you how hot the Nigerian stock market was. Many factors made the market stock. PFAs, the pension fund admin guys, were allowed to buy or to increase their allocation to equities. These guys have got trillions in assets under management. So when they start to buy, it's clearly going to move the market up. That's one huge thing there. And again, also general, globally, if you look at the global market, right, the US market has always beaten emerging markets. I found out a long time ago, it shocked me. The US is a mature market. It should actually grow slower than a market like Nigeria. But if you look at the just ETFs, what's that, VTI, which tracks about 4,500 stocks, has done better than emerging markets for a long while. The last 2 years, we had emerging market stocks beat the US market, and that was interesting. This year again, emerging markets are still beating the US market. So why? When you drill down into the minutiae of it, emerging markets is Korea. It's literally Korea. When you drill down into Korea, it's just two stocks. It's Samsung, it's SK Hynix, two chip companies. Those two chip companies together are nearly 50% of the entire Kospi. That's the South Korean market. So you can say the market has gone up, but it's just those two companies. Now, SK Hynix has now launched in the US, done an IPO in the US, is the single largest foreign equity listed in the US market. Single largest foreign, 29 trillion. Just the first is SpaceX. So if there was no SpaceX, let me just tell you how big SK Hynix is. If there was no SpaceX, then this company will be the single largest IPO in the whole of America, beating companies like the Saudi Aramco and all that. That's how big SK Hynix is. It's overtaking Samsung. It's not the largest company, I believe, in South Korea. That's what's driving emerging markets. So when you come to Nigeria, what's driving Nigeria? This is the point I'm making with this chart. Zix is 800%. Like it or not, ZIX is going to drive the equity, the AGX index. It's going to say the market is up, but not a lot of people can tell us here what they do, right? Not a lot of people can tell us here this is what they do in that company. I'm not hitting them. I'm giving you reality, right? Then we'll have Fortis Global, about nearly 320% approximate gain. This is after losing 35% in June. So strong year to date, significant drop. You have SCOA, you have Hyundai Consult, you have Restar Express. These are the top 5 stocks that performed up a lot, that grew the index. But if you peel this onion back, what's the volume of these guys? What's their contribution to the NGX as a whole? These are the questions. So the market in Nigeria is growing by cash, chasing these small caps low, these small caps that have very, very low prices, and is moving those prices up. That's what the NGX saw. And that's just saying, listen, we've got to bring some sanity into the market. We've got to say, okay, you can't move a stock price 800% by just buying 10,000 units. If you really like Fortis, go and buy 100,000 units at a go. That will then make that price to go up. So what you might see going forward is that if those small cap rules from the NGX come into play, then we might not see this sort of returns going forward because they've increased the threshold for the price to move up. You can still have and if the price doesn't move up, you don't get that percentage gain that we are seeing, that 800% approximate for ZIX Global. If you look at the volume that drove that, it's not a lot. Yeah. So this is why I picked to talk about this small cap, just to give you that sense of where we are in terms of high caps and small caps. Which is better? None is better. If you're a stable guy, you want to invest in stocks and go to sleep, you're looking at the NGX 30. It will give you stability. It won't go as fast. Like buying a Honda car. It will go very, very fast. But if you have a trailer is slow and steady, but to get to Kano. So that's basically what the NGX 30 is, your trailer. Yeah. And then the small Honda car is this. Yeah. Let me go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, make a full of good evening, Kalu. Very good presentation as usual, and it's always exciting to be in your space to share some nuggets and activities around the market. But first of all, I think when we look at the headline Nigerian investment overview Q2, that's an outlook. So I like to take people back to the historicals. I think this is the best 5 years ever in the stock market. My reasons are not far-fetched from the fact that we've made the fastest 100 trillion in history.
Yeah.
If you understand the market, when President Tinubu came to power, it was barely below 40 trillion. Now the market is moving above 160 trillion. Even if you adjust it with dollar, with the naira devaluation, virtually investing in 2023 and 2024 in any stock that is active, you've made at least double the amount. And we spoke about the fact that the NGX 30 look like they were quite slow. If you look at the data from 2022-2024, they move very fast. You recall the price of UBA, Dangote. Dangote used to be a stock that was struggling above 500 naira. Nestle used to be a stock that was stationed below 1,000 naira. And if you look at the price action right now with Airtel Africa, insiders buying has also put that stock record. That it tells you that a lot of dynamics have changed in our stock market. My only problem when I'm coming to where you're going is that while big money was made, a lot of people did not catch the trade. I think my biggest wealth ever in the stock market was 2023, 2024. And I recall telling people that, see, if you miss the trade, the best thing you can do is work with investment bankers that will tell you when price will correct, go in and try to rally. Because as we are right now, the market has gone so fast. Bloomberg brought out the data that Nigerian stocks are the best in the world in terms of dollar return. And a lot of people got gaslighted because they didn't understand. They're trying to mix the politics with what's going on around the politics. You see, in reality, the macros have improved. The efficiency of our foreign exchange supply, the fact that companies now are bringing out decent numbers, PE ratio, EPS, and good return on equity. Now we also see the CBN also bringing out strong compliance effort towards our banking industry. that has also increased foreign exchange inflows, FPIs, and credit ratings have also made an upward review, despite recent concerns about the fact that T1 settlement cycle, talking of LTS also. But it does tells you that people that really made the best are people that invested in. And that is why, see, Dangote was 21 billion, less than 21 billion when Tinubu. Now it's about 36, 37. And that just tells you that even with the Naira devaluation, a lot of people made money. So the question now is to you is that, what did you miss? And the outlook, this investment outlook is very important for people to be on this space, because for me, I tell them that, you see, I was telling some of my close friends that were rushing and buying stocks anyhow because of the run. You see, I bought Zeblat at 500 during COVID, at 500 naira per share during COVID. I sold half and I left half Kalu. I wanted to sell the remaining when I had about 20 million buying into the stock, and I left it because I used a broker just for Zeblat. And the reason why I love Zeblat was that Zeblat was a company I saw that for them to have listed in the UK stock market, they are trying to show the credibility that not everything is bad about Nigeria. Because see, we need to also look at the fact that a lot of people now are emulating intelligent companies. We are bringing in one of the brightest minds. So yes, you might have concerns about penny stocks. You might have concerns about the fact that we have some discrepancies in our market. But the reality is, I tell people, come on, stop talking about 2008 market crash where a lot of people lost money. I lost serious money in US stock market, for heaven's sake. I lost serious money in BlackBerry. I lost serious money. I have bigger cousins that lost money in tech bubble in 2020, in 2001. You understand? 2001, I was still investing. I have older cousins that lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But look at it now. Apple, Nvidia, these are the world's biggest companies in the world. So when you make excuses for failure, you stay in one spot. Because for me, I tell people that Nigeria still, we've not even seen anything yet.
Yeah.
Forget the fact that we have 148 companies in Nigeria. We've not seen anything yet. You know why? Because if you look at the Nigerian population, Nigerian GDP with our stock market, it's still compressed.
Yeah. Don't worry. Don't give us everything now. Stay around. Like I want. We're going to really talk a lot about this. So don't give us everything now. Let's do this stuff. Then come back to you and ask you some other questions. I have lots of questions that people have been collecting all week. So I want you to be here, sir, if you can do that for us. And also,
no problem,
yeah. And the one thing people are asking me all through the week was this Nigerian. Is Nigeria the best performing market? How is it possible that Nigeria can be performing well in the stock market, but the Korean economy is larger? The Korean economy has more stocks and all that. So I did a study and I've posted it on Twitter, and I'm also sharing with the YouTube guys. So let's just analyze this Nigerian South Korea. Why South Korea? Because when we say Nigeria is the most best performing market in the world, last year it was South Korea. This year also it's South Korea. What happened in South Korea in June? Their regulator said that, listen, the market is growing too fast. Literally in South Korea, this SK Hynix was an unknown company. I think it was owned by Hyundai. Then SK is like a conglomerate. They bought it and they took a bet on making chips. And these chips are now what is the chip for the AI. The company came from nowhere. It has changed South Korean society. I read a report where, in South Korea, the way they marry is very, very funny. You have to, it's class, where you work and all that is a big determinant of who you marry. Now, the guys that work in SK Hynix are now number one in terms of status in South Korea, who they would marry. They went on strike the other day and they've doubled their salaries or tripled their salaries. They're all millionaires. That company alone is not bigger than Samsung. When did we start hearing of Samsung? When we had SK Hynix. So let's go to the numbers. If you look at the Nigerian market, and I give an example in real terms. If you are in Nigeria, you took Naira from your bank account, you went and you bought an ETF or a mutual fund that invests in the Nigerian market. When we say the market is up 50%, what do we mean? We mean in January, you bought all the stocks in Nigeria, all the good ones, the bad ones in January. Today, in July, your return, if you used Naira, making that clear caveat, your returns will be 54%. You use Naira to buy all the stocks in Nigeria from January, July. you have 54%. The numbers are there on screen. What about the South Korean? If South Korea took its local currency, the won, and bought all the stocks in South Korea, all of them, he would be at 80%. So the South Korean market is doing better than the Nigerian market in local currency. One, that's where that argument of South Korean economy is better. That's the right answer. Yes, their economy is better. So you are going to make 80% in South Korea. You make 54% in Nigeria. Does that make sense? Good. Let's now.
Can I add something?
No,
Can I add something?
Let me just finish. Okay, real quick, because the second part would explain. Let me just give a second part, then you come in. Now, the second part is this: if you hold dollar in your hand, you are earning dollar return. So if you take that dollar, you convert it to naira. You take that naira and you bought the same thing. You bought all the stocks in the Nigerian Stock Exchange in January. You hold it to July. Your return would be 68%. 68%. If you do the same thing in South Korea, you take dollar, you buy won. You take won, you buy all the stocks in South Korea. Your return will be 66%, which means Nigeria will beat the South Korean market in dollar terms. So what's going on here? The Nigerian market is because the naira has gained strength and has remained stable. The folks bringing dollar, when they buy shares in Nigeria, when that 54% they are making, when they convert it back to dollars, there's an extra premium they are getting because the naira has stayed stable. So it's a return on the market plus a return on the stability and the strength of the naira. That's the 68% you are getting in dollar terms. You have to make that clarification. In dollar terms, the Nigerian stock market is doing better. In naira terms, South Korea is beating us. Olumide, go ahead.
Yeah, very good analogy. I just wanted to chip in a very specific definition of what you were saying. When I looked at the Bloomberg report, it even erased so many advantages in the US stock market. So, for example, I just want to make users. I pay about 4 Americans in naira. I convert from my naira dividends to dollars. And when I spoke to my friends on how that has happened this year, I explained to them that, see, ignore this NGX 30 or offshore index. You'll miss the point. If you just look at the drivers this year of major people, see, because when you want to understand stock market of each market, you need to understand the peculiarity and the culture around the market. There's this class you mentioned in South Korea, Chabo, where certain families control certain industries. That's why you have Samsung, Hyundai, and all those things. And they make a large composition. But these stocks are saturated. And the level of growth is not like what we see. If you compare Dangote's growth now, in the last 3-4 years with Samsung, you will understand what I'm saying. If you compare Brazil,
are you saying it's more or less?
I'm saying, okay, now I'm looking at it from if I adjust it with dollar, that's another. If I adjust it with dollar, it will definitely be less. But if I adjust it with naira, I'm looking at from the value of what, and I include dividend. I think it will definitely be more.
More to who? More to Nigeria or South Africa or South Korea?
More to South Korea in dollars.
Yeah, of course.
If I'm specific, like for example, let me give you Zebra for example. Let me use Zebra for example, and compare Samsung for example. From 2023 to 2020, there's no how Samsung moved close to that. There's no how. The percentage I'm seeing in Zebra, there's no how. With Samsung's current, even with Samsung's current valuation, there's no how. And you know, why I'm saying this is that people need not to be carried away with the all-share index. See, Nigerian stocks are moving very fast, yeah, but there are stocks that most of these big guys are holding that have really created so much wealth. In January, for example, just imagine, okay, the all-share index will not have captured the story of Wema Bank. Wema used to be a stock that was less than 1 naira. Now check the price action of Wema Bank. If you invested Wema when, like, you bought a property for 50 million naira in 2022, you invested the same amount to Wema, you're already getting close to $500 million. That's even minimum.
You're going far. Yeah. I mean, look at the slide we're showing. Look at the slide we're showing.
I know, but Kalu, I want to explain things to you. From an investor's perspective, when people say all-share index, we don't really invest in the all-share index. For me, I invest a lot now. ETFs now.
Olumide, I hear you, but you have to be very careful. So you see, there is no way I can know Olumide is buying, nor can you know what Kalu is buying. So the only way they can know is to say you bought everything. I get where you're going to, but I don't know what you're buying. And you are a professional. Many folks on many folks on the space don't know stock. So if I was to tell someone to go and buy stock, what does Warren Buffett advise? Warren Buffett is the best. What's the word now? The best investor in the whole world. Warren Buffett says if you want to invest, go and buy a mutual fund. And this is Warren Buffett. We have to look at it's like Nigerian NFL.
But you can't do that in Nigeria, Kalu. That's why I said if you're in Nigeria, you want to invest and you don't want to be picking stocks, then you have to go to the pension funds. We have the pension fund index, for example.
Okay.
Now, if you use that to get, because you see, like now we don't have a Warren Buffett in Nigeria, we don't have an hedge fund in Nigeria, but we have big investment fund managers. So that is what we used to track. That's what I'm telling people that you can't you can't follow the same way Americans track their market, but you will lose the bridge. Because a lot of people lost American stocks. A lot of people lost money in American stocks.
You got to qualify what you're saying. Again, Lumide, right? There are two Nigerian markets. There's the NGX 30, which are your blue chips. Like you have your Dow 30, your S&P. We have it in Nigeria. Now, what we are, and the same way they behave in America is the same way they behave in Nigeria. If you buy the Dow 30, they don't change. That's why no one tracks on news Dow 30. It's not sexy. It doesn't move up and down. If you put on the TV, what do they track? S&P 500. Because it has 500 stocks, it moves up and down. So it's something in Nigeria. The NGX 30 will not give you your 100%. This Zix Agro is delivering 1,000%. Olumide.
Kalu does. That's what I'm saying.
Which stock?
I remember I did a tweet when a lot of people.
Which stock?
Let me give you an example of what I'm saying now. I'll go and check this Stanbic 30 ETF that tracks the NGX 30. I remember I did a tweet and I showed people how much, and even some people in the investment community were like, "No, this is not possible." And I was like, "Come on."
So what was the return? Give us the return. What was the number?
The last time I checked, I have to check my data. Thousands of percent, because I own
in a year.
Yeah. I think since 2023, 2024, 2025, it has done.
Yeah, but that's not what we're saying is that Seplat, Zix Agro, I don't know what that is. It's done 1,000%. 1,000%.
I'll explain what is happening. Let me explain what is happening. See, our stock market, like I mentioned to you, is not efficient. You know that naturally. And if you look at where I call Stanbic 30 is that is the most liquid stock NGX ETF to buy in Nigerian stock market. Still at that, you have an issue buying a minimum order. You have, before you sell, you have to sell. There's a minimum you have to meet before you can sell, execute, or buy. It's because I own this stock. Now, if you tell an American, for example, to buy ETF this, ETF that, S&P, it goes straight. It doesn't work like that in Nigeria. And the gaps in Nigeria, it moves faster than what you have in the S&P and do. So my argument is simple. You can't use the same indices efficiently to track US stocks and Nigerian stocks. You always be in trouble.
Yeah, but again, when you say that, what should we use? So what you're saying to me is that we shouldn't. Let's check inflation.
So
how do we measure inflation? We have to measure.
No, Kalu, let me explain. No, Kalu, change of goods. I know what you're saying, but see, what I'm saying that in our markets, the stock market, the uniqueness of the market. It is what defines the composition and returns of the market. You see, in the US, for example, there's no 10% minimum or 10% maximum. We don't have that in the US stock market. We don't have that in the US stock market. We have that in the Nigerian stock market. That also has some limitations. In the Nigerian stock market, for example, we know that there are certain drivers that move peculiar stocks. It doesn't happen in the US stock market. So if you are coming and you are saying that you want to invest like that, you will lose serious money.
No, but you're making an argument nobody's making. Nobody is asking anyone to go and invest in the index or in the just stocks.
No, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying you cannot analyze the performance
Bloomberg is comparing the Korean index to the Nigerian index. That's the way it is done. We can't say we will not do it that way. We can't compare Dangote and SK Hynix. We have to go to the index. That's the way it's done. That's why I want to go to inflation. We can't say because in Nigeria.
I don't think you're getting me wrong. I said theoretically, if you look at my beginning, the conversation I started, I said theoretically, when you are investing, when you look at these things, like the Nigerian stock market is the best performing in the world. Yeah, but if you go deeper, you see that there's a lot going on that is far more than the rich. That's what I'm explaining.
I hear you.
And the reason is because
I hear you. But Olumide, you are going nuclear. You have to come to NEPA. We are in Nigeria, and I'm saying you are going nuclear. You are an educated investment professional, and I'm explaining to the folks on this space that how they are measuring this thing is they look at all the stocks.
True, very true.
That's what they are doing. We're not saying go and buy it. I'm explaining to folks that, okay, why is Nigeria? When they say Nigeria is better than Korea, they say if you buy all the stocks in Nigeria in January till June, you get 68%. If you buy all the stocks in Korea, it doesn't mean that I don't own all the stocks in Nigeria. I don't. You don't own. And Oluwa that wants to speak doesn't own the stocks as well. But that's how it is measured. So if you go to South Korea today and you only buy SK Hynix, it will beat every stock in the world, including Nigeria. So if on the flip side, they win. Because SK Hynix, again, they just launched in the US this week, the largest foreign issue in the US stock market history, 29 trillion. From who knew SK Hynix a year ago? Who knew them? From nowhere. I've told you, even, in South Korea now, right? They interviewed a guy. The guy said he would rather go broke than suffer FOMO. So in South Korea, there are no more shares of SK to buy. What they're doing now, they are creating index that copied SK Hynix, and people are borrowing. So they have times 2, times 3, times 5 leveraged index. It's not the real stock. It's like how you do betting. Instead of buying SK Hynix, they'll create SK Hynix 1. And that SK Hynix 1 is 5 times, 4 times leveraged. That if SK Hynix moves up, it moves up, but with 4, 5 times index.
Leverage ETFs.
That's what they are doing. Not even ETFs. So the FOMO is so much. Girls are saying if you work for SK Hynix, their society is like Africa. They have this funny society in South Korea. If you work for SK Hynix, you have moved to the top of the marriage list.
It's just like
to the top. Forget even investment. So imagine Nigeria say that if you work in First Bank and you want to marry any girl, so there's not just even the returns. So, but I'm explaining to folks on the space, the way they calculate this is to say, we don't know what Olumide buys, what Kalu buys. So we're going to come and say, okay, Kalu, we're going to assume you bought all the stocks in Nigeria and you bought all the stocks in Korea. The Nigerian return in dollar terms is better than South Korea by 2. When we say better, is 66, 68, guys. 66, 68. It's not a lot.
I think it shouldn't be a lot because
gotcha.
Honestly,
let's get Olaiwa to hop in here real quick and just break our monotony, then we can continue. We've got Olaiwa. Olaiwa, how you doing? You've listened to Olumide and I just go on, I guess. What's your take? What do you want to talk about? If he's still there. Oh, he's dropped Olumide. So I think I get that point. But let's go on. Let's go on a bit more.
You're totally. I think where we got it, I totally agree with you on all the tests you made. But I said, see, these things are just based on Bloomberg and news and based on.
We have to use something, Olumide. We have to use something.
Yeah, but when you look at things on the market, when you look at the things in the market, it's a different ball game entirely. Like Nigerian stocks, for example, I tell people that you see the most of the rich people in Nigeria right now are from the stock markets right now.
How many Nigerians own a CSCS in Nigeria? How many Nigerians?
See, that is what I'm saying. Okay.
So I'm bringing you back. Every time you go far, I bring you back. Tony Elumelu was my boss. When I was in ancient stock, the guy was already buying shares. There is an index in Nigeria called the Tony Elumelu Index. He's that big. Good. Yeah, Tony Elumelu, he's that big. So, but if you are on this space, you have 100K, you want to start buying shares. I would not advise you to do what Tony is doing. You don't have the knowledge, you don't have the research, you can't call a broker. Tony can call a broker and say, what's happening? And the broker will give him research. Sir, they are doing this Q2, this is what they expect. You can't get that. So the way you approach the market is to first of all go as a cooperative. You go to the indexes, you go to the ETFs. I don't like in Nigeria, I don't like ETFs because they don't have liquidity.
Exactly.
Go to the mutual funds, start there. Then when you understand the market, then buy individual stocks. That's my advice to any Nigerian listening. I won't say go and invest. You don't know these things.
But this is my problem where Nigerians get into trouble. So that's why I said like the general knowledge is to buy a basket of assets, which makes sense because it cuts down the noise and the level of research you do is lower. But it doesn't work in Nigeria.
It does work. It works in Nigeria.
Can you explain why it doesn't work? Kalu, see, I own ETFs, for example. There are some ETFs that I've not been able to sell. I can share my
NGX 30. What's the NGX 32 is a turn? What's it?
Kalu, I have.
We're not gonna argue.
I have minimum of 5 figures in ETFs in Nigeria.
No, we have agreed. We have agreed that ETFs. I've said this here lots of times. Don't buy the ETF. ETFs
so
in Nigeria.
If you tell the Nigerian to buy, no, Kalu, you see, the reason why
we've said mutual funds. We said mutual funds in Nigeria. I've said it here.
Even mutual funds. See, even
you can't sell a mutual fund.
Apart from Stanbic.
Why are you saying apart from?
Apart from the money market mutual funds, can you know I'm saying these things? Because I've seen a lot of people get into trouble, into liquidity trap. And see, these things cut people's percent. Let me give you an example. There is a certain stock I don't want to call. That stock did 200%. Now, people wanted to sell that stock. They wanted to sell that stock. And I told them, I said, what's the rationality going behind this stock to buy this stock? And they're like, oh, the fundamentals and everything. Then I was like, see, before you buy a stock in Nigeria, try and look at the bid, the spread.
Who knows this thing you're selling? You're coming back to the point I'm making. Before I buy, I've said it on this space many times. I have my 3 factors I use. Number 1, the fundamentals. Number 2, the volume. Number 3, the market. Who knows this thing you are saying? And I'm telling you again that when people want to buy, you've got to start with, in Nigeria, less than 500,000 Nigerians have a CSS account. In that 500, half of that is active. The bulk of the folks on this space, if we look at the numbers, that means that only about maybe 1% of this space buy shares. And is this people you are trying to go and look at bid and offer? Where will they see it? Only when the space here of education in this space, Ben is here now. 2 of us are in the education space. Why do I do space on Sunday every day? When I said this, when I said this Twitter space I do on Sunday, I assume people knew. And somebody was arguing with me about interest rates and APR. And I had to walk myself back and say, no, you can't talk like this. You've got to talk from that. Listen, people want to understand. Don't assume people. What you're saying is not wrong. I'm not debating you. I am saying come back and say, if you want to start to invest, I would never advise anyone to go and buy an individual stock as a newcomer. No, you look for it's in the Bible. In the company of what does this in the Bible? In the company of people, there is safety. Someone should help me. This Bible people. There is safety in numbers. And that's what an ETF or mutual fund gives you. When you understand the market, then you can stretch your legs and say, okay, I want to go and buy this particular stock, or I work in this company, I understand this company. Maybe I work. Let's Ben come in. Ben is here. Ben, come in. I know you are also in the market, so I'm also going to start there. Yeah, go for it.
I just want to finalize my point.
Go for it.
The markets have peculiar fundamentals. People, yes, I understand we need to go basic, but people need to understand that, see, when you're investing in the Nigerian stock market, it's a different ballgame entirely from US stock market. I remember when we started pushing about the Nigerian stock market, a lot of people came for my head, and the reason was not that they were wrong. The reason why they came for my head was that because we had liquidity trap, the market was very difficult to track. Now, the difference right now is that there are interest, the economy is growing, but still, we still have fundamental characters that you need to be aware of. And the first thing I want you people to be aware of is that liquidity is a very important factor in our market. Secondly, every stock don't move on fundamentals like all the things you learned in school, all these PROE, they don't naturally. By the time you get to that level, you understand. Then third, Nigeria still has more opportunities than the US, South Korea. The reason is simple. See, like Kalu said, we have less than 1 million people actively involved in the CSS. Nigeria has a population of 234 million. Now, if you look at our stock market valuation is about $112 billion. When you look at South Africa, it's about $1.1 trillion. It just pretty tells you that if you just do a simple GDP to the stock market valuation, tells you that Nigeria is so cheap, So, and with the reforms and things are coming, Dangote is coming, NNPC is coming, more companies are coming, Nigerians are building companies, People are now seeing the democratization of wealth with the stock market because Dangote has opened a new area, whether you like it or not. So it's not going to be. So what I'm telling people is that it does not mean you should invest now. What we are saying is that you should look at the opportunities and see how markets are bringing. That's all. Thank you, Kalu.
All right, fantastic. I got two guys that hands are up. Let's start with Ben. Ben was here earlier. I'll go to Mr. Pero. Ben, go ahead. Is Ben ready? Ben is not ready. Let's get to Mr. Pero. Mr. Pero, thanks for hopping in here.
It's Pero. Good evening, everybody.
Mr. Pero, I apologize. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yes, his name is Peter, no Pero.
Peter?
Anyways, yeah. Anyways, it's just to piggyback on what Olamide was saying. A lot of these investment platforms now that have apps that's making it more democratized for everybody. They all have this. Not all. Most of them, I'll say like 90% of them have the order book. The order book is actually very, very, very important because that will tell you how much the stock is moving on a daily basis. So if you go to a stock and you get to the order book and you see that it's only people trying to sell, nobody's trying to buy, and the stock is maybe cheap or whatever the case may be, if you buy that stock, more than likely you'll be stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I'm taking a walk right now. So that's what I'm
I hear you. And also not just the order book. There are also metrics. There's RSI, relative strength index.
Yes, no, of course.
All those things.
So those are very, very, very yes.
But it goes
those are
back.
Very, very important. Yeah, but the reality is this. If you follow, I mean, Olumide, I thank him because he's one of the people that got into the Nigerian stock market like 2024. So what I've noticed, like when you've been here for this little bit that I've been here, you start to see trends and you start to see patterns. So the reality, and like luckily most of them now have this thing. So for newbies, for people that are still trying to get a grasp of what they are doing, it's best to always look at the order book because at least that will give you an idea of how the stock is moving.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you, Peter. If the stock is a good stock and the order book says nobody's buying, should I buy?
I wouldn't buy.
Why not?
Because you when you want to sell, you probably won't.
Why would I want to sell?
I said it's a maybe when you want to sell for whatever reason.
Yeah, but the point. So my question was, there was a trap in my question where I said if the stock is a good stock. The point I'm making is the fundamentals. Start from the fundamentals. Why are you buying the stock? Once you answer that question, it helps you.
But the reality is this: you can have all the good reasons for one to buy stock, but what if life happens?
No, but life
life happens and you have to sell.
That's why you have your emergency fund. Again, we're going to financial planning.
What if life happens and it eats up your emergency fund?
Then you have to then sell.
Exactly. Thank you.
But what if life does not happen? We don't approach investing with what if. You have to plan. Like I tell people here, before you buy one stock, you do an emergency fund. Now, let's say you've done that, and I see a good stock. MTN. Let's say I see MTN, and the stock price. Everybody was selling when they had their devaluation. It's a good company. They own a large part of the market of the Nigerian stock market.
MTN, as you just mentioned, it's very, 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 very.
No, but I'm giving an example.
Very liquid. It's very, very liquid.
Peter,
there are not many good stocks that are not very liquid.
Peter,
even Seplat, as expensive as Seplat is, it's very liquid.
Peter, I'm giving an example. If I see a good company that has a problem, when we had the Naira devaluation, all the multinationals were bad. All the multinational companies were bad. They all had negative price returns. Nobody was buying, everybody was selling because they had an event, devaluation, that drove their stocks lower. And I'm saying, if I buy that stock, why I'm buying the stock because the fundamentals, the long-term earnings of those stocks are unchanged. It's unchanged. Nestle, MTN, it's unchanged, but there's an event that is today is causing their volumes to drop. So I'm saying when you want to buy a stock, the first question is, why are you investing? If you are a trader, volume is the most important thing you look at, not even the price, the volume, which comes to your order book. If you are trading, you want to scalp, you want to buy at 10, sell at 12. Volume, RSI, those are very important to the technicals. But if I am buying for my pension, I'm 25 years old, I just got into a job in the bank. I'm buying to invest for 25 years in my PFA. Why am I caring about the other book?
Kalu, let me add what you're saying so that we settle. So I totally
I would love an answer. I would love an answer to that. Why would I care?
Yes, I want to answer that question. So for me, like I would tilt towards Peter, and I'll tell you why. So what he's simply saying is that, see, I know what you're saying, that long term, but
I'm not saying long term. I'm saying you objective investing. If the stock is good,
yes, then, but see, in Nigeria, if the stock is good, it has to meet at least some level of liquidity requirement.
Okay.
Do you know why a lot of people lost money in Geregu, for example? You think the fundamentals were not good at some point? We think people did not hold long for some time.
Tomorrow, I cannot sell Geregu till tomorrow.
Let me even mention stocks for you, because can you see? Let me mention 7 stocks for you that had good fundamentals. People went for 5-6 years that they couldn't sell. You need to understand Nigerian stock market. You need to understand Nigerian stock market. You know, it's just like, see, it's a different animal altogether.
You guys are making it like it's not a different. It's the same thing. It's a market. It's the same rice, tomato market. Is the same as stocks. There is no difference. Volume, earnings, pricing, demand, scarcity is the same thing. We use bigger words, we use more sophisticated words, is the same thing. Demand and supply drives prices. Volumes drives prices short term, earnings drives prices long term. There is no difference between this market and market where I'm selling spare parts. None whatsoever.
Right now, if you look at BUA Foods and BUA Cements, they are basically stuck in this liquidity trap that everybody's talking about.
Okay, so if I buy BUA for myself and I'm buying this stock because I said I want to own this stock to provide my retirement, this is my retirement long box. What's wrong with that?
That's up to you. But personally, me, I wouldn't buy BUA.
Exactly the point I'm making. That's why you have to buy exactly my point, Peter.
What I see with regards to how the
exactly my point, Peter.
On a daily basis, you have like 3 million people trying to sell BUA Cement, trying to sell BUA Foods, and they are not able to sell.
And you are not wrong. You are not wrong. But the point I make is you've got to ask yourself, why am I investing? Once you answer that question, then it comes to you. If you are investing for short term, don't go there, because you've looked at the holdings. BUA is owned 90% by one guy. 90% by one guy. So if you're a trader, more than I just want to be if you're a trader and you look at the volume, you say, oh, I'm not going to go here. But if you're a long-term guy, what the heck? I mean, if he holds, I hold. Both of us are diamond hands. That's the point I'm making. So let's not make blind. I'm trying to say that there's no difference. It's not the market as a problem. It is the investor in Nigeria. Most folks are buying stocks without understanding the DNA of the stock they are buying. I've separated NGX 30 from NGX for a reason. And I'm telling Nigerians, if you want price today is 1 naira, tomorrow is 100%, don't go to NGX 30. BUA is NGX 30. Abi, you don't go there. If you like you said, you not buy your Wema, your Presco, they are not NGX 30. That's what will go up. If you don't understand the stock, you can't blame the market. That's the point I'm making. If I'm a long-term guy, okay, you want to hold for 30 years, I go follow you hold now. 2 of us will hold. Won't you pay me dividends?
NGX 30.
Are they?
Yeah, they are.
On my, are they?
Kalu, I'm back.
Oh, yeah, Ben. Yeah, okay. Ben, go ahead. So, but what of my favorite stock? I don't want to call the bank. The best stock in Nigeria last year was NCR. The best stock in Nigeria last year was NCR. 1,000% also return. It's not an NGX 30.
No, that's not NGX 30.
Look at the ones up. Look at this one on my. There's Fortis, there's SCOA, there's Union, there's Resta. They're not NGX 30. Look at their returns: 800%, 320%, 280. Compare that with what I did, the last slide I shared, where you had the top stocks in Nigeria. Look at Aradel. What's it doing? 111. Compared to 800%. Look at Seplat, 95%. Look at Owando, 78%. Dangote Cement, 62%.
But the problem with some of these stocks that you're mentioning, that even with their higher, they are still liquidity traps, because at the end of the day, you might not be able to sell.
Yeah, but then again, we're going back to my question. Why are you selling? We're going back to my question. Why are you selling? If you Why, if you get in because you want to buy and build a portfolio, then why are you selling? So that means if I want to buy, I have my portfolio, my trading portfolio,
I'll tell you
my
why
long
we are
term.
selling.
Let's
I'll
get
tell
Ben.
you.
I
I'll
hear
tell you
you
why we are
guys.
selling
I'm
before Ben.
arguing against you
I'll tell
guys
you
because
why we are selling before
I
Ben.
hear
You
you.
see,
Okay, go
I'll tell
ahead.
you what I said before, Ben. If you look at the US stock market, the graph has been up, right? Even Nigerian stock market at some point, Nigerian stock market is more cyclic. And we need to also understand that the economic power of an average American is stronger than the economic power of an average Nigerian. An average Nigerian is looking for quicker options for capital appreciation.
Bingo.
They need more income. So people don't have the capacity to hold. Like, that's why you see.
So the issue is not the market. It's not that the market in Nigeria is different. The market is the same. It is the Nigerian investor that is coming to this market. No. The market is this is the point I'm making, sir. The market is the same, but the American investor is coming into this market knowing what he wants. The Nigerian guy is coming to the market. So how many people of Olympia have asked you, give me a stock to buy? How many people have asked in your DM, which stock should I buy? Are they asking for stock to buy for 10 years? No, they want you to give them a stock that you will buy today and they'll sell tomorrow and make 10%. Yeah, that's what they're asking you.
But can you know the difference between US stocks now? US stock can do 40% in a day.
It's the same thing, Oga. It's the same thing.
A Nigerian stock cannot do 40%.
It can do the 10%, Abi. That's something now.
Yes, it can do the 10% in a day.
So the market. You guys, you are missing the forest. Look at the tree. I'm saying the market in Nigeria is not the issue. The investor that comes to the market for long term and all is looking for short term is the issue. You've said it here. People come to the Nigerian market and say, I want to invest, I want to make a profit, I want to pull out immediately. Let me add you as host before I get kicked out of here.
I want to say that not everybody, but
no, of course not everybody.
We're all looking at the market. We're all looking at it daily, and we're all looking at. So what brought us here was the fact that about the order book. It's good to know what your stock is doing. It's good to know if your stock is liquid. It's also good to know if it's not liquid. It's good to know if it's, and then sometimes when you like some people like this Zikis you keep mentioning. Zikis was going up from like one.
What does Zikis do? What does Zikis do?
Yes. It's a farm. It's a farm. But me personally, I will not put my money near Zikis because I don't trust the company. I don't trust it.
Because what do they do?
No, I don't trust it. I mean, we saw it. Hold on. We saw it go from like less than 1 naira and all the way to 3 naira to 5 naira to 10 naira, and it was. Basically, when you look at the order book, you couldn't even buy it. Nobody could buy it.
For some reason, SEC right on them.
Zikis was actually hold on. The NGX actually kicked Zikis out.
Exactly.
For some time.
Exactly.
You know, and then they came back. So like there's even among retail investors, we say there's a term say that shall not be sickest because you don't know what's going on with sickest.
Thank you, Peter.
See, this bad things also happen in US stocks. It's not that let me explain this to people and say bad things happen in US stocks.
Yes, so US stocks can finger your eye very, very much.
Do you know how many times I've been bought in stocks in US stock market?
But Olum, the biotech, you've already called it biotech. You called it biotech. But that's biotech. Biotech is high risk, high return. The market. So Olum, the point I'm making, and again, folks are listening, I don't want to stand on. So what I'm just trying to say is this, right? There is no difference with the Nigerian, South Korean, or US market. There's none. The difference is the investor education. I'm looking at a page here for whatever I want to find out about the US stock to tell me, whatever I want to know, who is buying, who is selling, directors, Nigerian, so you can't get this kind of information. You cannot.
You can. We have softwares. We can.
Let's get Ben. Ben, hop in. We'll keep Ben. Join the conversation, and we got Brain. Ben, go ahead.
My friend Kalu.
How are you,
sir? Olumide and Peru. Greetings to everybody. Let me just chip in on what you guys were discussing. You know, Kalu, you kept stressing on, the fact that there's no difference between the markets. I tend to disagree, I see your point, structurally, markets are, obviously, they are stock markets. They have a lot of similarities. But you have to understand that Nigeria stock market still has some liquidity issues, that you probably wouldn't find in a first world country like the US stock market, or like the UK or some other country that is kind of more advanced. I can't speak for South Korea because I know that even South Korea, they have like 2 or 3 companies that
just two
are like the anchors of that market. I can't speak on their liquidity because I've not really investigated that market, but I'm sure it will be a little bit better than Nigeria because I think they are ahead of us in classification.
Yeah,
we are now ascending to compete with them.
Yeah,
to become frontier markets.
Yeah.
So,
but let me
land, Kalu. Let me
just
land.
Ben, but let's not make it like I'm comparing America. When you say liquidity, that's also an American thing. If you're an American investor, you can get credit and liquidity, irrespective of the stock market or insurance market or bank market.
I hear you,
so I'm not saying let's just okay.
Let me land. You see, you have to look at when you look at our markets, we are not as strict as we are supposed to be when it comes to free float rules. The current free float regulation, as far as I'm concerned, is terrible.
Agreed.
The current free float regulation, that 20 billion or 40 billion and the minimum of 20%, will be minimum of 5%.
Good point.
It's messed up. We need to increase the free float because if there's more free float, there'll be more shares for people to buy and sell and trade. And now this is where we are seriously lacking. We don't have banks that are big enough to make the markets. I keep saying this everywhere I go. We don't have the market makers we have in this country. What CHD, Cardinal Stone, Stanbic, and those guys, they are obviously overstretched. So we need more banks to bring more capital to say, look, we are making this market.
Is it capital or offers? Is it capital or offers? What's the issue? Is it the capital or paper? Bring offers to the table. I mean, there's money.
It's not offers. Let me explain this. You see, the role in a market like this, at every point in time, you need somebody to sit down and say, anybody we want buy, I go buy from you. Anybody we want sell, I go sell to you. That guy you sit down in the middle of the market, that's his job.
But in Nigeria today, we don't have the supply. We don't have the supply.
Let me land. Please, let me get stress alarm to land. You can see what you want to see. It's a very risky position to take and it requires capital, requires risk management. This is what the JP Morgans, the Morgan Stanleys, what do they call the other guy? The BOVs. There's somebody I'm missing. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman.
State Street.
In the US markets. To enable you, when you buy a stock and you want to sell, chances are in the US stock market, you will see somebody that will buy that stock for you, or you will be able to sell the stock. You need a market maker. And market making requires capital and requires risk management. Right now in our market, our free float is kind of low, and we don't have enough market makers to ensure that this liquidity issues.
The issue is the supply.
Ben come in that part. So what I agree with Ben, what he said about I will raise the point that the SEC Nigeria should also create a form for market making. I think that it's not as bad as it's not as heavy as if you look at Binance, for example. Now, Binance is one of the most liquid crypto exchanges in the world.
There's market making on NGX.
Yes, look at Wintermute. What I'm saying is, if you look at Wintermute, for example, it's a fairly new market making. And you look at guys like Jane Street, look at guys like folks on.
All right, Olamide and Peter, what's the free float for Boa Foods? How much of the stocks are available for you and I to buy? Free float of Boa Foods.
Boa is the worst.
Give me the number. Give me the number. No, give me a number. No, just give us. I want to understand what you're saying.
I don't want to be in trouble, but
it's 3%. I think it's 3%.
It's about 5%. So when Ben says that the issue is the market maker, there's only 5% to trade.
I know.
Kalu, didn't you hear me when I also started saying the free float is too low?
I hear you, but I'm saying that in the end, you can only trade when there's supply.
Well, Kalu, let me tell you the honest truth. Do you think that Dangotes and Rabi will be? You see, when I ask people about why is it that the float is there, it preserves their wealth.
Yeah, but it's wrong. Then they shouldn't list.
I know. That is why I said that there are a lot of things foreign investors are finding out, and the NGX really need to take bottom because see. It's really not a play when a billionaire is holding.
Okay, let me ask you a second question. What's the free float for Boa Cement? 3%.
I don't have it in my head, but
5%. Also 5%.
3%. 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, 3. One that is 3. Very good. I know that one of these companies are 3%.
So how can you when we become frontier market, where is the stock the frontier people will buy?
That's what we are called frontier. That's what they're not in the emerging market. That's not a frontier.
But where will they buy the shares now? Where will they see the shares to buy?
That was why I was telling people that Dangote Cement will not list in the UK or in the US. Refinery, it dare not. Yeah, and people they didn't understand what I'm saying. I said, see, yeah, you're talking about SpaceX, and the reason is that if you look at the category Dangote refinery will be listed, it's under utilities or energy, right? And you look at there will be floating requirements.
Okay, let me ask you, just for the float listing, what's the free float for Dangote Cement? 11%. So you see, it's a lot better. Yeah. That's why we're talking about Dangote Cement.
The best are Nigerian banks. That's why I'm telling you.
I think the minimum should be 20%. See, that's what I think.
If GT, Zenith, UPA, they list in the US stock market, I still believe that their valuations will triple. And I believe that if the most valuable ones they list, their valuation would suffer by 2/3.
What's the free float for MTN? 22%. See what we're going to with this? 22. Now you can see what's happening. Yeah. The Nigerian guys are keeping their shares in their pocket. Are you seeing what's happening?
MTN is tricky. MTN South Africa was about 2/3.
Yeah, but this is free float. This is free float, the one they have in the market. Yeah. Let's do Zenith. Let's do Zenith. A bank owned by a guy, owned by a guy, but it's quoted. Free float is 34%. 34%. So it looks like it's a Dangote and Bua issue, where they have come to the market to say that they are public quoted companies, but they don't bring shares to the market. They are not bringing shares to the market, especially Bua. He's not bringing shares to the market. So he can say he's a quoted company. He can raise capital cheaper. He has the prestige of being in Nigeria, but he's not bringing shares to the market. How can you have 3%?
Kalu, they are using the market as a valuation stamp, as a stamp
to enter Forbes billionaire list.
As a stamp on their valuation, so they can access private equity. Imagine.
Okay. All right, guys. Guys, hang tight. Let me finish my presentation. Hang tight. Let me go to fixed income. So we had stopped at the Korean one. I had talked about why Korea and Nigeria, who was doing better. Let's come to the fixed income space in Nigeria, right? And what I've done here is I've listed out all the fixed income in terms of returns, and I've also given the risks and what you can get, right? So T-bills, that's your section. T-bills about 18%, money markets 17%, bank deposits 15%, bonds 90%, USD 8%, but it's in dollar. Again, the issue here is the liquidity. If you are saying that life will happen to you, you should be doing fixed income, not equities. If you are saying, I repeat, if you are saying that life will happen to you, if you're not yet sure, you never hold yourself well, you should not be buying equity. Equity is not the market you go and say your rent is due in 1 year and you have the rent today. So you want to go and buy shares today because you want the money back in 1 year's time. That 1 year, by the 11th month, your money fee waka. That's equities for you. So don't say you have life, then you go and buy. So I'm sharing it again for you guys on here so you can take a look at it. It's just, it's basis, again, averages. You've got to go to your individual bank and ask for the rates. But the point I'm making is that if you compare in terms of yield, you are looking at your need for liquidity, not the actual yield. If you need money,
I don't think there's any bank deposit that is giving 15% in this.
Well, go and ask your bank that. I know, but ask your bank that. So if you want to do bank, it gives you a lot more liquidity. If you want to do T-bills, it's very, very safe, very, very safe, very, very liquid. As you go on federal government bonds, they pay you well. They are not liquid. So the point I'm making is just be aware of the liquidity needs. Then I also try to do this chart again. The next one is just to say, hey, let's do this one. Again, I've ranked this asset class in terms of the risk.
Well, I wanted to add something before you
go ahead. Go ahead.
So like the list Kalu mentioned, many Nigerians unfortunately will not be able to access treasury bills because of the minimum requirements, even from primary and secondary market. Sure. So the simple thing I'll just tell you is that don't feel bad. You could also get an average from
money market,
to 90%. So there's money market funds. I think Stanbic is the countries that they manage over 2 trillion naira, but their percentage is quite is lower than average in the industry. Some the last time I checked was 15.13%. The average money market fund is giving you 70-80%. And interesting, Nigerians are going to places like PiggyVest and I think those people also have built their credibility. And since they are they have those subsidiary license, CBN subsidiary license. I think it's also good. So people need to understand that for you to access certain assets, you also need to look at your liquidity power.
Yeah.
Because you are not worth, you don't have 1 million naira liquid. Please don't think about treasury bills. Your bank will never answer you.
Do money market, Abi. And like you said, those guys are doing very, very good rates. And it's a Nigerian guy that is doing, even in dollar, you know. I know. Did you see my X money thing? I got an X money card.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it. It's almost the same. It's
6%.
You know, Stanbic gives me 6%
in dollar.
Can you imagine?
But this one there, yeah.
So Stanbic is 6.98.
What X did, right? What X did? They gave me the card, right? Then I have an account there to save money, and I have an account to spend money, and they pay daily. So essentially, if I put my money there, I'm earning 7%, but I can spend the money. You see the difference, and get 3% back.
But is it open to Nigerians?
Yeah, I'm a Nigerian now. I think it's just.
You understand? Is it open for people?
Yeah, I think it's just
Nigerians living in Nigeria.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be. It's just your. I think it's just your whatever your. If you are, first of all, you have to be on their, what's it called, premium first of all, and then maybe they want us to try it out, that kind of stuff. I've been seeing the news. It's open.
It's the X savings account.
Correct. It's a savings account. It's an investment account. It's a checking account, and it's also, so when I go to the store and I spend, I get 3% back. Very, very high. If you put money in, plus, it does wire. It does wire. There is no fee. It does direct deposit, so you can hook your paycheck to the card.
Yeah.
So very soon, I can send Olumide money on on money. I just send Olumide to his username without paying a fee.
That's nice.
There is wahala coming. So banks in Nigeria, get yourself ready. There's stuff coming. People are not going to wait for you. You know, this is what this man wanted to do. The Instagram man wanted to do, Meta, when he was doing his Meta money thing, but he didn't have political power.
Yeah, but
now
that's what I'm saying, that they might fight it too, because look how banks are going to circle and.
But Elon is Trump's friend. That's the difference.
How long is Trump going to stay in power?
Once it gets in, it's hard to stop it. If he gets it into the bloodstream, and folks can get monies without paying a fee. Imagine what he's telling. In America, right? They have what they call payday loans, where folks go and take loan on their paycheck, and it's very, very stupid interest rates. Now, if imagine he starts to do this, and people can get this card, get their paycheck 2 days early. So if you use this card, and your paycheck comes on Friday, you can get your paycheck on Wednesday with this card. So you can get your paycheck early, you spend in the store, you get cash back, and you're investing the money. So if people get used to it, and you can transfer money without paying the fees, like Zelle and this, so then it's hard to remove it. The problem with the Instagram guy, he never got into the. If Instagram had started, no one will stop it. So, but very interesting. Very interesting.
Do you think it's going to be win? You remember Apple Card when everybody spoke about Apple Card?
Of course, because Apple is just what I think is going to be for Elon.
Apple now has Apple Pay now, which is successful.
Exactly. Elon is integrating everything into one app. So remember, how many extras are there globally? Money transfer. Look at it, if Elon starts to do money transfer internationally, and I can send money to whoever in Nigeria on his card, his Apple card, because the card is just a physical card, but I have a digital card as well. So on my phone, I have a digital card, and I have a physical card. So in Nigeria, you can get those cards instantly on your phone, on X. And you can pay for foreign goods from your phone. Remember, you are paying you subscription. So X will pay you subscription. Look at what the Nigerian will do now. You do X, whatever, you get paid. The money goes to your X card. You use your X card and you then pay for stuff abroad. Don't you see what's going on? These guys are going to get money in dollar terms on a card outside the financial system.
It's a big project. I'm just concerned about companies like Lemfi, all these Nigerian.
He's targeting them now. He's targeting them.
Yes, because it's like I'm naturally looking at investments in those places. Like if I'm an investor there, I'm obviously placed nice because that leverage is because that leverage is huge. And like you said,
and remember, X does not own anything here. X is just a platform. If you look well, you see the bank he's using. He's using the bank in America. He doesn't. There's no X bank. He's using a bank in America. So again, so for the guys in, if Piggyverse goes and let's say Bamboo goes and Mark talks to him and he says, okay, we're going to sell Nigerian stocks on X through Bamboo. Boom, you're in. Let's close up with this chart, and we'll get you guys to speak. King, I see you. Let's look at this chart. I put this chart on purpose, right? Look at the chart, Nigerians. I put it here, asset class comparison. I'm trying to use it to say, listen, when you want to invest, compare assets to assets by risk and by objective. If you look at the first one, equities, it's beating inflation. So if you bought equities in Nigeria, you are beating inflation. No story. But your risk factor is there, 7. So it's a high risk play to beat inflation, 7. Look at money market. You're not near inflation, but your risk factor is 2. Look at bonds. You're beating inflation, but your risk factor is 4. So you're not 2, you are slightly higher because bonds can go up and down with interest rates, right? But then you're also beating inflation. Look at US dollar assets. You are protecting your value. It's also risky because dollar can change and you can also lose those funds. Look at Bitcoin. Strong gains, strongest gains. It's even beating inflation, but look at the risk factor there, 9. High reward, high risk. The point I'm making this slide for the folks listening is that when you want to invest, you've got to ask yourself that question: what's this investment for? What's my appetite for risk? How long do I want to stay in this asset class? Is that drives where you go and invest? Which means if I have my rent money, I shouldn't be buying Bitcoin. But if my uncle dashes me money and I go to a party, gives me $100, and I just want to play with it, I can go and buy Bitcoin. If I lose it, no problem. But then if I'm on the middle of the road, I'm doing the portfolio that's mixing equities and bonds. Remember that you've got to invest according to your objectives, not according to the returns that you are seeing. Right?
I'm happy you mentioned Bitcoin. Remember when we spoke about people need to not be carried away with Bitcoin astronomical run and the fact that the assets are not gained that wide stream. Remember this concern. I think I'm happy that you have highlighted these things because one of the things about many Nigerians is that we are very passionate about, we treat financial assets like relationships. Like, oh, this is my boyfriend, this is my, and to be honest with you, I understand that, but it's very important to have a flexible perspective. A lot of people, I feel so sad for them that missed the Nigerian stock market that are now coming in was because many of these guys, I remember they were saying tissue paper, Nigerian companies, tissue paper, things like that. And, the people that got rewarded are people that had to say, yeah, Nigeria has problems, but see, the fundamentals are not that bad. Look at GT, look at it, and now, so look at Bitcoin now. I will never believe that under President Trump, Bitcoin will lose half of his value. This is a crypto president, so things can change. People need to understand that. That is why I think recommend stocks to people. That's why I understand, because I'm not licensed to do that. You need to have people in the room every day before I even.
You know what's
I still talk to investment bankers. I still talk to SEC professionals that license. So, Kalu,
it was from that interview they marked this Bitcoin because what was going on in America was back to 100 because it's a limited value, limited number. Treasury could do that because then they will make money when it's up. Then they'll sell, just like they do with equities and bonds. So that question was loaded and it was on purpose. And the man was saying, don't ask me, I don't control Bitcoin. He said, no, I want you to answer. Yeah. And eventually Scott Bessent said something about, no, we are only dealing in financial assets. That's what killed this whole Bitcoin thing. Trump tried last week. And Trump said he loves crypto because his sons are doing crypto. He said, I love crypto. Crypto went up in price a bit. Yeah. But unless something happens, unless they go and pass, I don't know.
Let me add something to it again. Like these things you mentioned, you also need to look at it from a wider perspective. Acceptance. If central banks globally were using Bitcoin like El Salvador, I think even if the fact that the US didn't put it on the reserves would have been better. But you look at Binance, for example, in Europe, they didn't give them the license. So, and Binance is one of the biggest crypto companies in the world in terms of volumes.
So we done? Are we done? Is this crypto thing over? Are we?
To be honest with you,
it can't go further.
I feel that
you guys are scared also.
I feel Bitcoin will remain. I feel but I feel that
at what price though? At what price?
And that's what I'm going. I feel like because if you look at my altcoins, for example, altcoins are coins other than Bitcoin within a state. In fact, some of them are below their the price they got introduced to the market, the IPO, and it just pretty tells you that the market is living on a world of.
I mean, this guy is selling. Michael Saylor is now selling.
Yeah.
So if Saylor is selling with the whole strong hands, diamond hands, is gone.
I'm not even coming on.
He said. So his
explanation is that he wants to pay out his investors, but everybody knows that. Investors are not interested in that.
I listened to a podcast and they were saying that the guy is in serious trouble, that the Fed is going to come after him because they put a video where the guy was comparing Saylor's MicroStrategy reserves. He was comparing to treasury bills. He was saying that these things are like, and he said on video. So now people that invested were investing because they were saying that these things are safe as treasury bills, and people went and invested. That's why he's paying dividends, because if he doesn't pay dividends, they're going to roast him alive. So I'm just asking, what should we do? We didn't put crypto up here, but if you're a crypto bro, should we hold?
Crypto is just too risky nowadays.
Let me say something about crypto. This is the reality.
Sorry, Ben.
Please just give me just 1 minute.
I just want to point.
I know say you be boss. I beg.
I want to add this. If Ben, if the market, I think what I just want to put a line on this definition. Bitcoin is not a bad asset. The crypto asset was not a bad asset. There were reasons why Nigerian invested in crypto. But this is my problem, and this is what I want people to understand, and this is what makes America America. We need to have a mentality where we don't marry a financial asset, where we don't think that things move in absolute terms. If you look at gold, for example, even this year at some point, gold started melting. And I think it's very important because one of the reasons why Nigerians lose money, they see things like as if, no, this is the one that will make my destiny. We are not God. The reasons why we are talking about investment is opportunities. If, for example, I knew Bitcoin would lose half of its price, I would have taken a $1 million shot. Do you know how much I would have made? So the thing is that it all boils back to the fact that you have to try what does the rich people do. That's where the question goes. Now in Nigeria, most rich people invest in the stock market, then they use their businesses, then the stock market, then they go into real estate. In China, it's different. In China, it's the real estate, then the stock market, then they have this thing. In the US, of course, it's the capital market. So you have to ask yourself a question: what have you learned from this? So for me, my take is that we are still going to see a lot of pains ahead, and people will be used as scapegoats. So it's better you start to understand how markets move and stop marrying assets because of beauty. Nigeria stuff look beautiful now. Remember, I'm the same person that tell people you have to be careful, because I know there are a lot of outbreaks. Look at what happened to Arab Energy in the span of 3 months. A lot of people bought almost at 2,000 up, and some people have already lost millions, and the market has not even corrected. What happens if crude oil gets to $50? Have you asked yourself that question? Thank you, Kalu.
Peter, Ben,
let me just piggyback on Kalu. Please, let me just give me 1 minute. Let me just piggyback on what he said. On Bitcoin, the marriage that people married Bitcoin. Bitcoin was marketed as some sort of a libertarian, product that will give people freedom over the system. So there was an evangelical aspect to it. But if you assess it logically, the unit of accounts, it as a medium of exchange is heavily limited. It's heavily limited as a medium of exchange. Not everywhere you can use Bitcoin to buy things, and we see that is gradually improving. But as an asset class, as an asset class that you would invest in, there is no upside to Bitcoin. It's not going to move upward in a structural direction that would make you put your money in it. So my view on Bitcoin generally is that it has reached its peak. It would remain, but it has reached its peak. It will just remain another alternative asset that is on the side.
Wow.
And then maybe gradually, as the medium of exchange becomes more spread, like if people start accepting it more, then it would like have a sustainable part to the future. But as a speculative asset that you say I want to invest in, there's no upside for Bitcoin. There's no reason that will make Bitcoin move to 200,000, but there's no fundamental reason. Nothing. Don't
just
believe
scarcity.
any story that anybody will tell you that you are going against the system, you have your privacy. When Bitcoin started, they were running around saying that you transfer Bitcoin from wallet to wallet and they won't charge you. Before you know, charges came in. So I think it's high time that people stop believing this marketing.
People that bought at 120, they'll be crying for you right now. People that bought at 120 are wanted.
Ben is killing us.
They'll be crying right
Ben
now.
is
Move
killing
out of
us.
that asset class.
Ben.
That will never be accepted by the government.
Sell at a loss.
The main purpose of Bitcoin, let me round by saying this, the main purpose of Bitcoin was to show the whole world the masterful technology that is called the blockchain. Right now, if you know what they call SWIFT, which is the communication system that the entire banking system in the world uses, right now they are working on SWIFT to incorporate the blockchain. Bitcoin was just a use case model to show the entire world how that blockchain technology is the way forward. That's all. That's all. It has capped. That's ready to speak.
Wow.
I don't agree with you, Ben. I don't agree with you that part.
Okay, we'll see that. We'll see. Because stable coins will come in and the stable coins that will now move forward.
If Apple and Microsoft, if Apple are going to hold Bitcoin, what do you think will happen to the price? Never say never.
What is the strategic reason? What does Microsoft have to gain?
Okay, let me
from
explain why.
Bitcoin?
Okay.
Let's start looking at it from that way.
Okay, why is Tesla holding Bitcoin?
Because he bought it far back, Olumide, far back. He hasn't bought again. He also bought the Shiba Inu, Abi. Has he bought again? No.
No.
Let me tell you why Tesla is holding Bitcoin. Because Tesla,
Elon Musk. I'm talking of Tesla. That's Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon bought a long time ago.
Tesla came out. Tesla was marketed with a similar narrative as Bitcoin. Oh, we are going against the norm. We are going against the system. So they are holding it for symbolic reasons. I don't think they have any strategic reason for it. It's just for symbolic reasons.
Let me explain why I'm saying this. You don't say this in
if you understand what they call libertarian political whatever, I can't remember how they describe it. I think you will see that that's the movement behind Bitcoin.
Okay, let me.
And it's dying.
I'm going to add a Bitcoin guy to come and attack you.
No, I don't want to get into the trouble of Bitcoin.
No, let's just hear.
I've studied
the case.
When I wanted to invest, I
Let's
studied
hear
Bitcoin
the case.
right from the origin.
All right.
When that mushroom seller was the one that popularized Bitcoin. He was selling mushrooms illegally. I studied it. I saw that this thing is just
mushroom seller. Okay, let me get.
That's how Bitcoin became popular.
Let's get to
Somebody was using it to sell drugs.
So Tolu.
Online, yeah.
Tolu.
I can't remember the name of the app.
Let's get Tolu Berry. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine. Happy Sunday to everyone.
Happy Sunday to you too, sir. What's on your mind? Yeah. I know where you're going to. What's on your mind?
So I just want to chime in on what has been said. A lot has been said and it's very valuable. And for disclosure, I've been in the crypto space since 2018. I own some Bitcoin, but I agree with the fact that this cycle may actually be a different one. Because if you look at the caliber of people who can buy Bitcoin now, it has to be corporate and sovereign nations. So, given that retail can no longer afford, to buy a whole Bitcoin, with the present financial situation, the bear sentiment, the lack of liquidity in global markets, generally, I think there's a lot less case. But we don't know what tomorrow can. If the global reserve currency explodes, definitely Bitcoin can, quadruple in a very short span. But given the circumstances and based on what we know right now, I think Bitcoin would consolidate for a couple of, let me not say years, but for quite a number of months into the future. But what I want to speak about today is something that may be in your blind spot. And that's the fact that it looks like there is a concerted effort to select some cryptocurrencies that is going to be used for global cross-border payments for the whole world. And that currency is Stellar, right? So Bitcoin is decentralized, and it has a cap, 21 million cap. It's not very good as a currency for global use. But you see, I've been following the actions of those in power, and it looks like they're settling for Stellar. I would encourage everyone. I bought a lot.
To lose like you're marketing something. I mean, who is Stella?
No. I'm just telling you what I know, and it's not financial advice. And in the next 1 year, Stellar is 18 cents today.
Yeah, we've heard all that before. But I mean, I'm looking at the major Bitcoin thing. I don't see Stellar. I see Solana. I see TRX. I see Doge. I see ADA. I see BC.
It can take some time to research it.
Yeah, but it should be here. What I'm looking at is where the ones that are it's not here.
Yeah, Bitcoin
all these coins is just called.
Yeah. Tolu, we're talking.
Let me wrap up.
We're saying our house is catching fire. I say we should build BQ and join.
No.
Not even BQ. One small BQ in the backyard like that.
All those Ponzi schemes.
The global financial system itself is on fire.
Dollar is up. Gold is down.
The US financed its debt, interest only, with 24 billion every week.
Yeah, they can afford it. They're the US. They can print it. That's not new.
It's not a matter of time.
There is no point. We make this point over and over and over. The US can print this thing. There's no issue. Yes, but we've had this. US has been printing money since Qatar. That I know better.
Because the risk has not materialized, does not mean that.
When will it materialize? When?
And you can leave US. Can you look at what's happening in UK? Can you look at
UK? You know in France to
Can hold on. See, if you look at what is happening in China, Japan, do you see the carry trade? Are you seeing the carry trade?
There's no carry trade now. It's gone. Japan, they have raised rates.
No, come somewhere. You are coming somewhere now. It's gone. Now look at what's happening in Japan this year. Look at what's happening.
What's happening? Tell us.
In the Chinese market, what I just wanted to amplify is that while it's understandable that the US is the haven currency and they use the dollar